Hello and welcome to episode 23 of the We Were Athletes Once podcast. My name is Kyle. I am joined as always by Cody.
What's up?
And the American League and National League Division Series has just ended. We're actually a little bit into the championship series at this point. As we're recording this, game one of the ALCS just got done. But we're mainly here to talk about the recap of the division series, and some of them were really interesting, and some of them really weren't. Uh, there are some results that we were pretty happy about, some that we were pretty disappointed about. Mainly the National League side of things. Uh, Cody, just give me your thoughts. Looking at, I guess your original thoughts, looking at what we're going to talk about tonight.
First and foremost, fly the L. Second, I hate the National League matchup. I hope they both lose. I'm rooting for the asteroid. Um, but man, was that Seattle Detroit series fun?
Yeah, it. I texted you, so I was working late that night, but I was able to get away for a little bit once extra innings started, and I was able to watch those. And extra innings was almost a whole other game in itself, and we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about that a little bit later on. But uh, that Mariners and Tigers series did not disappoint.
it did not.
I want to start with a series that did disappoint, though. And when it comes to this series, I mean, the we're going to be talking about the Phillies and the Dodgers. I think the Phillies were kind of the team coming out of the National League once the division series started. The Phillies were kind of the team that we were hoping was going to be the one to come out of it, and Game Three kind of gave us a little bit of hope after they fell down 2-0. A couple of homers by Kyle Schwarber. Uh, you know, a keeping the Dodgers to 2 runs. Uh, Pretty good pitching performance actually by Ranger Suarez out of the bullpen, who we were kind of worried for a little bit we weren't going to see in this series because he was dealing with an injury. Uh, so seeing that was a great sign, and seeing them win in such a dominant fashion was such a great sign after how the first two games went. And then game four happened, and it kind of looked like it was starting to get the feel of how we felt going into game five of the ALDS. And then the play happened. So,
It was bad.
yeah, it was a bases were loaded, 2 outs in the bottom of the 11th inning, I believe.
Sounds right.
Uh, and there was a ground ball to Orion Kirkering, who was on the mound. Um,
2 outs.
2 outs. He bobbled it a little bit, and I think that kind of set some alarm bells in his head. Andy Pajes hit the grounder, and instead of throwing the ball to first, which you learn what to do in that situation in Little League, granted, that's the
PFP
biggest moment of his life.
doesn't matter. You have
It's
PFP every day.
Yeah, sometimes in big moments like that, it's easy to forget like easy things, but that was a rough way for the Phillies to end their season.
It's bad.
Instead of throwing the ball to first, he throws the ball home, air mails the ball to like over the head of JT Realmuto, and even if he didn't, it looked like Sung Kim had already beat the throw. um, if he would have thrown to first, we'd be going into another extra inning. We'd be going into the 12th inning. And instead, the Dodgers are going to the NLCS for the second straight year.
Boo.
Cody, I know you have, or it seems like you have a bit of a rant on that. Uh,
I don't have a rant, but day one of spring training, pitchers go through PFP, pitcher fielding practice. and you field the bunch, you field those comebackers. This is a situation where the only explanation for me, which is still an unacceptable one, is that he didn't know how many outs there were. Like otherwise, there is no chance you should ever be going home. I know Andy Paez runs decently well, um, but you
He had
field that ball, you turn to first, you make the throw, you go into the next inning. And it's even worse because if you watch the replay, the third baseman is standing almost next to him, pointing at first base, telling him to throw to first. Um, I mean, that's,
JT was yelling 1-1
yeah.
as
I think JT was even pointing at first, too. Like that, and the fact that you're that close to JT and you just airmail it that bad, that's that's a bad look. You didn't give your catcher a chance to make a play, but like you said, I don't think it mattered if you made a good throw or not. I think Hassan Kim was already going to beat that throw. You go to first. If they beat you out there, so be it. But you can't lose like that because that's going to stick with you forever now. Um, it was a bad play. It was a bad mental error. It's not something that can happen. And if you want to be a closer, a guy that's in late crucial situations, that's not something that you are ever able to do.
Yeah, I don't think it was just because he forgot how many outs there were. I think
I don't either, but that's the only semi acceptable answer here to making that dumb of a decision.
and look, you're talking about at the beginning of the season, they do PFPs every year. Like you learn that situation when you're
Since you
10
were
years
5
old.
years old,
Like when you start actually seeing real pitchers, you learn what to do in every situation.
pick up the ball,
With
turn,
two outs,
throw to first.
yeah, with 2 outs, basically no matter what, you
You're
throw
going
the
to
ball to
first.
first. Um, Orion Kirkering knows that. What I think it comes down to is this is a 24-year-old kid who has been in the big leagues for really 2 years now,
Years, yeah.
and it was a really big moment, and he just kind of had a brain fart. And this isn't really the guy you'd expect that from, considering he's kind of been the postseason hero coming out of the bullpen for the Phillies
He's been
before.
excellent.
That first, he actually made his debut about a week before the playoffs in 2023, and he was awesome for them throughout that playoff run. And I believe that run ended in the NLCS, and they lost to the Diamondbacks, either NLDS or NLCS. But he was awesome throughout those playoffs. And so Orion Kirkering isn't really the guy you're used to seeing those kind of mistakes from, but it happens. You really don't want to see it happen, especially again. That's how the season ends. Uh, that's super frustrating. I can't imagine how Phillies fans feel because
They
that's
hate
frustrating for
Orion
us.
Pickering right now.
It's frustrating for us as Dodgers haters, but as imagine if that was uh, Jojo Romero doing that in a playoff series.
It wouldn't shock me. I mean, we watched that happen a couple years ago, so
I don't think we watched that specific thing happen. We
did Ryan
watched
Helsley not do that?
no. I think he did everything except that. He let go a lot. I whoever was playing shortstop at that point, it might have been either Tommy Edman or Edmundo Sosa.
Nah,
Uh,
Sosa was gone.
one of them made an error at that point. In 2022, no. Oh, he might have been. Yeah,
Here's the
I
thing.
don't.
We're talking about Orion Kirkring here because of the play. It is 100% a mental error that he's going to have to live with because that's the last thing that you have to hang your hat on until next season, until spring's training starts. I guarantee he feels horrible about it. I guarantee he's going to be thinking about it, and I guarantee from now on, um, he's going to take the sure out at first if there's any question. He is a young kid, but he's been very, very good since making his debut. a year and a half ago or whatever it's been, 2 years ago. He is an integral part of that bullpen into their future, and I think he's going to be fine. The problem with this series was not the mistake. Yes, that ended the series. The problem in this series was that Philly couldn't hit to save their lives. Um, Outside of Schwarber and Real Muto, Alec Bohm, it was bad. And I mean, you had 3 home runs this whole series, and 2 came from Schwarber, 1 from Real Muto. Um, Bryce Harper, 600 OPS. Nick Castellanos, 400 OPS. Brandon Marsh, 210 OPS. Bryson Stott, 308 OPS. Trey Turner, 555 OPS. You can't win like that.
Yeah, and going off of that, I want to talk about the Dodgers side of things because the Dodgers this playoff series were just dominant, and it was dominance top to bottom too. Like if you look at the stats, like Shohei Ohtani didn't really do a whole lot this series. He had those big home runs in Game One of the wild card series, and outside of that, had a 600 OPS. I believe he had 600 OPS this series. Uh, a lot of it came from as either this series or in the playoffs in general. But
No, he was worse this series.
it might have been in the
He
playoffs in
was
general.
like 4 for 18.
But Mookie Betts had an OPS over 1,000. Teoscar Hernandez had an OPS over 1,000. Kike Hernandez had OPS hovering around 800. Max Muncy had some big hits. Like the pitching staff was really good. Tyler Glasnow in that same game pitched 6 shutout innings. I mean, the Dodgers, we could say whatever we want about them not being a team that got a bye, not being a top seed. Uh, looked kind of flat at certain points in the season. Almost got caught up to by the Padres, but the Dodgers are still the team that won the World Series last year, and they're still playing like it. And they're playing some really tough competition in this NLCS, but I still wouldn't want to play the Dodgers in a playoff series.
No, they're loaded. We talk about it all the time. You've got basically a $500 million payroll. Um, you go through that lineup between Max Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, Mookie Betts, Tommy Edman,
Yeah, as Tommy
Freddie
Edman had
Freeman,
900 OPS this series.
Will Smith, Shohei Ohtani. That's 7 of your 9 batters right there. And then mix in Hassan Kim, Enrique Kike Hernandez, Alex Call. Like, those guys are fine. Um, but the rest of that lineup's just loaded. And when, again, you're pitching number like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 starters out of your bullpen, that's a weapon. So I'm not shocked by this. I just didn't want to see it happen.
Yeah, you brought up Alex Call. Like he even he brings up a good point about even their bench is
Loaded.
performing when they need to. Because Alex Call was 3 for 3
He's very good.
this series. So, yeah, we've had our fun about the Dodgers when they've struggled, but it's still very possible, and it's getting harder to see them not repeat. I am going to hold out hope that they won't.
They're not repeating.
I just hate repeats.
They're not
Uh,
repeating.
but keep telling
I'm
yourself
going to
that.
say it again. They're not repeating.
They're not repeating, and Cal Raleigh's going to win MVP.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Let's
Speaking
move
of Kyle
on.
Raleigh, no, I'm just kidding. We got to go Dodgers Cubs. Fly the L.
Yeah, we're
Love
moving
it.
on to the team that the Dodgers are going to be playing in the NLCS, and that's the Brewers. And the big story in this game or in this series is, I mean, the Cubs didn't really do a lot of things right. Like they couldn't really hit, they couldn't really pitch, and on the Brewers side of things, I mean, they had their big players throughout this series: Andrew Vaughn, William Contreras, and probably the best player so far
Yes.
in this
Not
postseason,
even, there's no question. He was the best player in the series.
Jackson Churio. I need to pull up his number. Do you have his numbers pulled up for the series?
Are these the
Or
correct ones? This is just the postseason. I have his postseason numbers, which are
that works.
also
Yep, that
extremely
works.
good. He's 5 of 18. No, I lied. He's 7 of 18. Um, two doubles, a bomb, 6 RBIs, a walk. He's hitting 389 with a 1088 OPS. And he's coming up clutch in every situation. He's just hitting the daylights out of the ball. Um, let's see. There it is. Um, and then we talked about this team needing some guys to step up if they were going to win. Andrew Vaughn has been one of those guys. Um, 286 for the series with an 1126 OPS. He's got 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. I believe he had more walks to add onto that, and he didn't strike out at all. He was I think 4 of 14. Um, but he gave them the pop that they need. And then William Contreras is just being the guy that they have gotten since they made that trade to acquire him. Again, 300 batting average, 983 OPS. He's got 2 home runs. He's been very good for them. This was a team that we said you needed those guys to step up. We also said you needed kind of a death by 1,000 cuts here. Like, they're not really going to scare you in that lineup. There's no one there that you're like, oh, we got to pitch around. But there's a lot of guys between Contreras, Terang, Yelich, Churio, Frelick, Vaughn, um, that have stepped up, even Blake Perkins a little bit, and come up clutch for them in those situations. So I like what the offense did here. And even, their pitching is ultimately what I think was the difference maker in this series. The Cubs starting pitching was horrendous. And I think we've said that since the trade deadline, that this was not a team that was built to win, and they didn't do anything really to help their pitching staff when it came to the trade deadline. Um, they picked up Andrew Kittredge and they picked up Mike Soroka, and they were both terrible in this. And we said from the beginning that's not good enough. And they proved why they could only get to this point.
Yeah, I don't believe Andrew Kittredge is even on the Division Series roster.
He started
Was
one
he?
of the
Okay.
games.
Um, yeah, if you look at the pitching staff, no one really had like any horrible games. Uh, in the game that they lost 6-0, Freddie Peralta had 3 runs in 4 innings. That's about the worst you'll find.
Yeah.
And Robert Gasser in that same game, 2 runs in 2 innings in the last 2 innings of the game. But I want to point out Jacob Mizorowski in Game 5 this series. Uh, this is a kid who is 21 years old, I believe. Uh, 21 years old. No, 23 years old. Okay. 23 years old, just got called up in June, pitching in his first postseason action. 2 games this postseason, 7 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. Came in after an opener in this series, and he basically shut the lights out in the Cubs for those 4 innings. Tyler McGill started that game. Uh, yeah, 4 innings, 1 run, 3 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. His only blemish was giving up that homer to Seiya Suzuki, but I mean that's just what we've been talking about this whole year with the Brewers is people are going to step up, and this is a very young roster. Outside of Christian Yelich, I don't know if there's really any like what you'd call grizzled vets on this team, and the young guys have been performing. So
Yep, and he also had another appearance where he went 3 innings and gave up nothing.
yeah,
The Miz has been good. You love to see it. He grew up about 10 minutes from where I'm from. He went to Grain Valley High School, so you know I'll support the local kids. Unfortunately, he's going to be tearing the Cardinals apart for the next 8 years, so that's going to suck. But good for him. He's a stud. There's no way about it. He just needs to figure out how to lengthen his outings so he's not going 4 innings every start that he has. But if he's going to be coming out of the bullpen throwing 3 or 4, we already talked about the Dodgers, that being a weapon for them. If he can consistently come out of the bullpen for 1 or 2 innings a game, or you're saving him to go 3 or 4 for 2 different games in a series, that's a huge weapon because, 103 coming out of the bullpen is nasty.
yeah, and so looking forward to this NLCS, we have probably the most star-studded roster in baseball versus the team that
The
whenever you
least
think of
star-studded.
huh,
The
the most
least
star-studded.
star-studded.
Yeah, versus the least star-studded, I guess you could say. A team that whenever you think about them, you think about just doing things right, playing fundamental baseball, having guys stepping up whenever they need to, just being able to play an all-around good brand of baseball. It it gets tough whenever you think about who is going to win this series because I've there've been times where I've waffled towards the Brewers winning. There've been times where I've waffled towards the Dodgers winning just because of how talented they are. Like they could legitimately not have Shohei, Mookie, or Freddie perform all that well
And
and
still
still
win.
win the series.
So I guess this is the question that we need to leave people with um, going into this series because as of now we haven't seen a game. It starts tomorrow. The Dodgers win if what happens?
The Dodgers win if they can continue to play 1 to 9. Like they can continue every single person on their team can continue to perform.
Okay, Brewers win if.
The Brewers win if they continue to not make any mistakes.
You went very simple with it. All right. For
Yeah.
me,
I
no, that's fine. Like fundamental baseball, it's what they do. For me, the Dodgers win if their starters perform. Um, I think the only way the Dodgers lose this series is if we see blow ups from their starting pitching. I don't like the back end of their bullpen all that much. I don't like a lot of their bullpen in general. Um, and it's going to be starters coming out of that bullpen, which I'm not the biggest fan of if they haven't done it before, but so far so good for them. So for me, Dodgers win if their starting pitching doesn't blow up. Uh, and then I think Brewers win if they can get to the starting pitching. Um, that and I think it's going to come down to starting pitching in this. Can the Brewers starting pitching hold up? Um, because if you're going to give up 4 or 5 runs to the Dodgers early, you're not winning this series. So I think this series is going to come down to starting pitching. Which team doesn't have the blow up, and which team can get their starters 5, 6 innings into the game to hold that. I do think, like you said, though, the Brewers have to play fundamentally sound baseball, and they can't have any errors if they want to win this series because they're going to have to play pretty close to perfect.
yeah, and that's just the thing with this series. The Brewers are so gritty that guys that you don't expect to step up like Andrew Vaughn are able to be superstars. But the Dodgers have superstars. They have
throughout their
guys
whole
that
lineup.
have proven it the entire time. I mean, we're considering Tommy Edman a superstar here because he was their superstar throughout the entire postseason
Yeah,
last
but look at their pitching rotation. Who in their pitching rotation has done it?
year. I mean, Glass now pitched in a World Series. It was the 2020 World Series, but he pitched in a World Series. Blake Snell pitched in that World Series.
Like you got two guys maybe that have pitched because we're not counting Clayton Kershaw because he's not starting. He's come out in a relief and he's been terrible. Like honestly, if I'm the Dodgers, I'm not throwing Clayton Kershaw unless I'm like up or down huge. We
Yeah,
know his struggles in the playoffs. It was overhyped for a long time, but it's because it's a real thing. Clayton Kershaw postseason numbers are horrific. Ask Cardinals. We
yeah.
love to see Clayton in the postseason.
I mean, if you look at their whole pitching staff, Yamamoto. I mean, he did it last year. A lot of these guys did it last year, but Yamamoto did it last year. Glass now pitching that 2020 World Series. Snell pitching that 2020 World Series. Hiroki Sasaki's young. He's obviously never done it before. Uh, they've got that. I mean, you're looking at full on like Hiroki Sasaki is their closer in this postseason.
Yeah.
Uh, but
But when I
they've
look
got
at this, like those guys you listed have had one playoff. That's it. So
if you
there's some experience, but there's not a lot.
yeah if you go in their bullpen, Blake Trinan has been a part of every single one of their
Yeah,
playoff runs.
he's like the only one. Him and was Vesia there.
Yeah,
So outside of that, though, and Clayton Kershaw again, I'm not throwing him.
but I'll look at the other side of things. Who's done it on
Oh,
the Brewers?
nobody, nobody.
Nobody, and they have a manager who hasn't really done it because Pat Murphy's first season as the Brewers manager, as first season as a full time manager in the big leagues, was last season, and the Brewers got taken out pretty quickly in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
and he's gonna win Manager of the Year. So we'll see how it goes. Um, it's hard to pick against the Dodgers here, but I'm gonna because I don't want to see it happen. I'm not rooting. I'm not. I'm definitely rooting against the Dodgers, but I'm not counting out a team that plays gritty and doesn't make mistakes and just keeps doing the right things. There's something to it in the postseason, and that's what wins games. If the Phillies had done that, even though they weren't hitting, they would still be alive. They could potentially be the matchup here. But mistakes are what cost you in the playoffs.
Well, you like to see those teams win, but at the same time, if you look at the Dodgers, what was the difference in the 2024 World Series?
I mean, they were loaded.
Well, I mean, so were the Yankees. The difference was that the Dodgers also played fundamental baseball with their superstars.
I mean,
Because
they still do
the Dodgers let the Yankees make
beat
mistakes and
themselves.
beat themselves. They let the Phillies make mistakes and beat themselves. The
They also
Dodgers,
hit.
yeah, the Dodgers have these superstars, but I mean, we're acting like let's not act like Dave Roberts isn't that same type of manager as Pat Murphy with a lot more success. Like he's won regardless of what you may
I mean,
think
they
about.
almost ran him out of town 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, but that's because there there
Fans
gets
are
to be
idiots.
a level of impatience when you
I'm
always get
sorry,
some.
I've almost only made it to every NLDS for the last decade, so bye.
Well, that's I mean that's even what you're seeing in New York with Aaron Boone. Like
Aaron Boone's
people,
going to be fired.
but that's the thing. They've been in the playoffs every year for the last how many years, except for I think 2023 was the only outlier.
I'm just telling you, Yankees fans want him gone. I know it's a new management up there, but man, they're so impatient in New York. He might be gone.
Well, we're going to talk about the Yankees real quick, but my point being, the Dodgers have that star power, but they are also a very good fundamental team,
They
and
are.
their
They are,
MO.
and that's why it's hard to pick against the Dodgers. But I'm going to because I don't like them.
Yeah, I'd
Any
love to
team
see.
who is any team who is able to cheat the luxury tax the way they do and spend literally as much money as humanly possible, I don't want to see win.
Yeah, I'd love to see the Brewers take this. It would be their first World Series appearance since 1982 when they were in the American League, and of course, they've never won a World Series, but
Well, and when they get there, I will root against them, but I'm rooting for them to get there.
it's tough for me because this is the third episode that I've had three different picks for who's going to the World Series.
Not on.
Because I've obviously had the Padres, and then last episode I was like, oh, the Brewers might be able to do it. They looked really good. No, they play really good baseball. But so the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are loaded, and I think their star power might be the difference.
All right, let's go over the AL. We talked about the NL for too long.
Okay. Yankees and Blue Jays. I think this,
Yankees suck.
yeah, this one's pretty simple. The Yankees just got outclassed. They got outpitched. They're hitting the Blue Jays hitting. Even in the game they lost, they scored 6 runs.
Yeah, they just lit. The Yankees pitching was about as good as the Cubs pitching, but
And
somehow worse.
the shocking part about it was it wasn't even the bullpen. It was the rotation.
Starters,
Cam Schlitter pitched the
final game.
postseason of his life. He only got 2 games, but he pitched amazing. I think it comes out to about two earned runs in 14 and a third innings. But it looks a lot worse in that last game because he technically gave up 4 runs because Jazz Chisholm made an error, so 2 of them were unearned. But yeah, if outside of Aaron Judge, Cam Schlitter, and again, shockingly, the Yankees bullpen, no one else really came to play.
It was bad. Um, yeah, there's not a lot to say here. The Blue Jays offense was alive and well.
Yeah, I mean, Vlad Guerrero, 529 average, 1.609 OPS for the playoffs. Dalton Varsho, 438 average, 1.471 OPS. How many
That's
at bats?
insane.
How many at bats has Ernie Clement had? Ernie Clement has had 17 at bats in the playoffs. He has a 529 average with an OPS of
9 of 17. Nice.
sorry, 643 average with an OPS of 1.554.
Can't make that stuff up. Ernie Clement, 1555 OPS, hitting 645. Insane.
Yeah, their pitching was great, but their pitching didn't even have to be great.
You could have had the Cubs pitching and won that series.
And I know you're really pulling for a certain team,
I sure am.
and you're pulling against a certain country,
I
but
sure am.
but
USA.
The Blue Jays look like the best team in baseball and have for the entire season. Or not for the
Well,
entire season, the entire second half.
listen, it don't matter. It's why we play the games, and we'll see how this series goes. Because we need to talk about the best series that happened, and
Yeah.
it was the Detroit Tigers and the Seattle Mariners. This one looked like it was going to be over pretty quickly. Um, I believe the Dodgers. I believe the Mariners got out to a 2-0 lead, and then Detroit came back and won the next two, and then we had the most epic Game 5.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think there were 6 extra innings. So that's quick math, 12 half innings. I believe of the 12 half innings, 8 of them, and I may be counting wrong, but I believe 8 of them had runners in scoring position.
It was a lot. It
Um,
was. I have a rant about this one.
okay.
I know that people don't care anymore because baseball's dumb and we only care about certain things. Please learn how to play small ball. I know it's not a thing you guys are capable of doing anymore because you're all idiotic and you only care about striking out and hitting home runs. Please learn how to bunt the baseball, advance runners, and hit a sac fly. This game should have been over about 17 different times, but no one was capable of advancing a runner with a bunt. It was insane how bad it was. I was it was a good game because it was stressful and there was a lot of entertainment value because of all the runners in scoring position and some of the crazy stuff that happened. But holy crap, not being able to advance runners and stupid base running is why this game went 6 extra innings and not two. Anyway,
I'm I'm enjoying when you rant because once again I'm having issues with my throat. So the more time I have to prepare it again, the better. Yeah, there. I think about I don't can't remember what innings it was off the top of my head, but
just about all
there
of them.
were like the Mariners got runners on first and second with a walk and a hit by pitch, which by the way, I don't believe was a hit by pitch. I think that should
No,
have
it
been
was not. That was a foul ball. It
a
definitely hit the bat
Robles
first.
bat then hand should have been a foul ball. But that being said, runners on first and second from a walk and a hit by pitch. J.P. Crawford's up,
The
and
best bunter on your team.
yeah, and he can't lay one down, and end up. I believe the next batter grounds into a double play,
Yep.
and I think good on the Mariners for at least like understanding that you need to bunt there
Oh no, no, not
because
good on them because they had that opportunity like 7 other times, and that was the
they
first time they attempted.
they couldn't execute, but there were a couple innings where they tried. I don't. I
It was
may
so
be
bad.
I may be remembering wrong, but I don't believe the Tigers even tried to bunt
I
all that much.
don't remember them trying to bunt, and it was infuriating.
Um, yeah, and then the game ended in the 15th inning on a walk-off single by Jorge Polanco. And
Because Jorge Polanco is on fire.
what did you just say?
Jorge Polanco is on fire. Him and Cal Rowley are both two RBIs away from the most in Mariners history. They are both have 2 home runs and 5 RBIs in this World Series. Jorge Polanco has been clutch.
Um, Jorge Polanco has a 748 OPS this whole
Clutch.
season. He's he's been clutch. He has not been hot.
Okay. Okay,
I'll say
fine.
that.
Sorry. We'll go hot from the end of this game into game one when we talk about it here in a minute.
There we go. Because he was, I believe, 1 for 7 that game, and he had a
Doesn't matter.
070,
Clutch.
077 batting average, I think it was, in the series. But yeah,
What's that little handbag that girls carry around? Clutch. Jorge Polanco.
yeah, that leads us into the ALCS, which is the Mariners versus the Blue Jays.
Hold on, hold on. We
And
got to go back for a second,
okay,
real quick. This series was awesome. Like I said, Mariners looked like they were running away with it. Tarek Skubal pitched 2 really good games and had 2 no decisions. So good on Seattle. Um, my problem with Detroit was outside of Kerry Carpenter, who postseason clutchness at the ultimate level. He was awesome. outside of Kerry Carpenter and who am I missing? There was one player that hit for them besides him. Um, I'm blanking on who it was. Um,
Torkelson?
nope, it was not
It was not
Torkelson.
Torkelson.
Did not hit.
It was.
Glaber. Glaber Torres. Outside of Glaber and Kerry Carpenter, they did not hit. It was an ugly series for them, um, and it's just not good enough. Like that first series, Dylan Dingler had a couple, at least one
Javi,
big home
Javi
run.
Baez has been hitting too.
Javi Baez was okay, but not in this series. He was not great. Um, it's hard when you don't have any hitting whatsoever. I know Seattle's starting pitching is good. I love it. Um, but I just look at this lineup and I don't know how they got this far, honestly. Like, this is not an amazing lineup. Torkelson wasn't great. Um, I mean, Zach McKinstry came up clutch for you in one of the games. I believe he had one of the winning RBIs. But Riley Green didn't do anything for you, and you needed him to be big um, because you're basically rolling Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, Javi Baez, Gleyber Torres. Kind of surprisingly was elite for them, um, but the bats were not alive in this series, and that's ultimately what killed them. Um, some of that will give the props to Seattle pitching because it is excellent. But this is a roster that I think needs some help to get over that next hump. That and they need to sign Tarek Skubal long term.
Um, question looking at the box score of this game 5. So
Let me pull it up. Hold on. You can
the
keep talking.
the Tigers had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pitchers go in this game. Two of them were in relief, Cater Montero and Jack Flaherty. Cater Montero went
Was good.
two innings, no runs, no hits, one walk, got out of two really big jams,
Got a double play to end an inning.
got a double play to end the inning, and threw 32 pitches.
Yep.
Jack Flaherty, 2 innings, no runs, no hits. He did walk 3,
Yes,
but
he
he
did.
also struck out 2, and he got out of those jams that he
Yes,
made
he did.
himself. And he threw 43 pitches. Do you should the Tigers have tried to stretch those two out a little bit
Um,
as starters coming in to
it's
this?
hard because you don't know what they've got that late in the game. 75 pitches anymore, like that's all a lot of players are letting anyone throw in the postseason, period. Um, regular season, you're getting your 90 to 100 pitches, but in the postseason, you're seeing 55 to 75 pitches. It's kind of a max right now. So it's hard to say, let's push them too much further. You don't know when if or when they had a bullpen during the week, coming off of their other starts, and they're still on short days rest either way. So you probably don't want them going over 50 pitches at the most. Um, so I get doing that, and also when we're talking about it, both of them did get into trouble. Um, Cater Montero, got out of it pretty quickly. He kind of cleaned up a mess. But Jack Flaherty had walked 3 guys, and in some of those, it wasn't looking particularly close. They weren't competitive pitches. Um, and he's also struggled some throughout the postseason. So that's not one that I'm looking to stretch out. Um, you can try Cater Montero, but I honestly, I don't have any issues with how this one was called,
Okay,
other than putting Kyle Finnegan in the 7th inning.
I only asked that just because it is a winner go home game, so you kind of can't focus on saving their arms, saving
No,
them for the
no, and
ALCS.
I'm the
This
most
is it.
opposed person to that at all in general. Um, but I think this one was well decided.
And there was even a point where Adam Wainwright and AJ Przynski, who were on the call for this game, they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna see Jack Flaherty versus Luis Castillo for a while." And then in the 15th inning, you see 40-year-old Tommy Canley come in, change upping people to death. Uh, he sprinkled in a couple
Oh,
85-mile-an-hour fastballs.
can we talk about how the Seattle Mariners threw about 73 straight sliders?
um, yeah, which by the way, uh, Logan Gilbert came into relief too. Uh, Edward Bizardo was really good. Got out of a couple really big jams late in that game. Struck out 4 and 2 2/3 innings. Like you can go through a lot of these pitchers: Andres Munoz, Matt Bratt. Even on the Tigers side, Will Vest pitched 2 shutout innings with 4 strikeouts. Uh, Troy Melton
Troy Melton was
pitched a
very
shutout
good.
inning. It was just great pitching. Um, there's just these little things like the Montero move and the Flaherty move that feel like you could have extended it a little bit more. But
Yeah,
I
and
understand why.
like I said, usually I am the most critical of the pitching moves and how they go about them, when they go about them. I get it's the postseason, but I hate how early they pull pitchers most of the time in the postseason. You give up one walk, even though which we'll talk about in game one when we talk about it, but you give up like one walk after you've been dominant, and they're like, oh, pull him, he's done. And I'm like, dude's gotten out like 16 straight batters. How about we give him one? Like, this is ridiculous. Why are you pulling your best pitcher to throw in a reliever that's just okay? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Those guys that they're like, oh, you went 6 innings and we're gonna pull you even though you've given up soft contact at most. Um, I hate it.
Yeah, so I feel like that's a good point to where we can move on to the ALCS, which, like I said, as the time of this recording, game one basically just ended. And as dominant as the Blue Jays have been throughout the entire playoffs and throughout, like I said, the entire season, or at least the second half of the season, game one went to the Seattle Mariners.
Bryce
Uh,
Miller shut them down.
yeah, it was a pitching battle between Bryce Miller and Kevin Gossman.
Gosman
And
was elite as well.
yeah, the game started uh, first inning, first batter of the game,
First
first
pitch.
pitch of the game. George Springer hits a home run off of Bryce Miller. Not first pitch of the game, first pitch of the bottom of the first inning.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
First pitch of
First
the
pitch for
game
them.
from Bryce Miller.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but you see that, and with what the Blue Jays just did in that last series, and it was almost a "oh no, here we go again" type of thing.
Yeah, but then not only is that the only does Bryce Miller only give up one other hit, and it was a single to Anthony Santander. Uh, Gabe Spire, Matt Brash, and Andres Munoz all came in the game and pitched no hit innings themselves.
Each
Uh,
of them threw 8 total pitches.
yeah. Meanwhile,
Insane.
later on in the game, it's 1-0 for a while until the top of the sixth inning. Cal Raleigh comes up and ties.
MVP.
Cal Raleigh comes up and ties the game on a homer to right
It's
center.
a nuke.
Later, they get a runner in scoring position, and Jorge Polanco, who you were talking about earlier,
Clutch.
had a rough ALDS outside that walk off hit. Came through with an RBI single in that same inning to make it 2-1, and then move on the top of the eighth. We have runners at first and third with one out in that inning, and he gets another RBI single to basically ice the game. Uh, the Blue Jays kind of did what they did for a lot of the ALDS and pitched a guy a third of an inning here, a third of an inning there, And again, Brendan Little came in to relieve Kevin Gossman
And
with
that's where I have
two
an
outs
issue.
in the sixth.
I have an issue.
Okay.
So, sixth inning, Kevin Gosman gives up the home run, ties it up 1-1. Prior to that home run, he had retired 16 straight batters and struck out 5 in that time. He looked dominant. They weren't even close to hitting anything from him. And then he walks a guy like right after it, next batter. So he's 2 outs into the sixth inning here. Um, Gives up the home run. Then they, or maybe it was 1 out, gives up the home run, gets another out, and then he walks a guy, and then they pull him.
So
I'm not okay with that because he had been dominant. Let him go. He's only at 76 pitches. This is a grizzled vet. You know what he is. He's been like this is a guy that you want in the game, and instead you pull him and you put in who? Brendan Little,
yep.
who instantly gives up a hit to Polanco. I hate everything about this move. And the flip side of that, in the sixth inning for the Mariners, the same kind of thing happened. You know, Bryce Miller's rolling. He's got 5 2/3 in, and he gives up a hit and a walk. So there's 2 guys on, I believe, and they come out to talk to Bryce Miller, and they leave him in the game after having a conversation. Trust your guy who's been dominant. Bryce Miller did an awesome job this game of working the top of the zone with fastballs. He got so much weak contact and just little pop ups. He only had 3 strikeouts, but he controlled that zone with that fastball up and kept him off with his off speed stuff. I think this was a great game from Bryce Miller. I think this was great on the manager for trusting his guy. And I hate what the Blue Jays did in pulling Kevin Gosman after he'd been rolling. And this could very well have been a different game if they leave him to finish that sixth inning and get the next batter.
Yeah, going in the sixth, no runs on 2 hits. It was J.P. Crawford ground out, Randy Arozarena strikeout, Cal Raleigh homer, Julio Rodriguez walk, and then Brendan Little comes in, immediately throws a wild pitch, and then first batter results in a single.
He spiked the ball so bad. I don't think it made it to home plate, and if it did, it bounced off of home plate. It was not even close.
And
Um,
then he
I
finished
hate
the
it.
inning by striking out notorious speedster Josh Naylor, who had 30 stolen bases this year.
Notorious speedster. You're funny.
um, so that's how game one
Okay,
ended.
so we did it for the other one. Let's end it with this real quick. We saw game one, so we got a little bit of a cheat here. Mariners are up 1-0. Clearly, that didn't matter in the last series. They went up 2-0, and they had to go 5 to win it. Mariners win if, Blue Jays win if. Let's start with the Blue Jays since they're down 1-0.
Blue Jays win if the bats can look like they did in the ALDS, where
Mariners
every
win if.
single person is hitting.
Yes.
The Mariners win if they can stay clutch.
All right. Yeah, I think Mariners win if their hitting comes alive. I have no concerns about this starting pitching staff. Their bullpen with Brash and uh, Munoz has been outstanding this postseason. So for me, Mariners win if their bats come alive, and Blue Jays win if I'm going to go with the same as you. Um, their bats can do what they did in the last series because I don't think you need elite pitching if your hitting is that elite.
Yeah, I mean, even looking at the Mariners, even in the ALDS though, their bats never really came
They
alive.
didn't. Their pitching won them the series.
They scored 8 runs in game three, but those other games were where was I? 2 runs, 3 runs. There's an 8 run, 3 runs, 3 runs. So 3 runs a game is basically what they've been scoring. But you were talking about it going into like the lead up to this series. They were clutch, and it was specifically Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, Jorge Polanco. Just again, their numbers aren't great outside of Cal Raleigh, but they're getting big hits when they need to. and
And
that
that pitching staff is dominant.
and that is going to be what matters is can they pitch and can they get big hits
It's,
at the right time
I
because
think this is gonna. I think this is gonna be a fun series because you're gonna have strength for strength here. You're gonna have elite pitching go against elite hitting, and it's gonna be who comes out on top. And I'm taking the pitching. I still have my Seattle Mariners going to the World Series like I picked in the beginning.
a little bit of an interesting
I will also be rooting against Canada.
a little bit of an interesting piece to this. Logan Gilbert has been announced to start game 2 after pitching 2 innings in game
Against Canada.
5. So he's pitching on short rest. Uh, Pitching 2 innings in game 5 of the ALDS.
I don't like this.
Yeah, they have other. Well, so they used Logan Gilbert, they used Luis Castillo, and I can't remember who started game 5.
Game five was George Kirby.
George Kirby. So
Kirby and
they
Munoz, and then they ended with Castillo with an inning and a third.
so that's the thing. That
Is
as
Brian Wu is Brian Wu out?
I haven't heard anything about him being out, but he might be. But that's the thing, like the downside to what I was talking about with Flaherty and Cater Montero is the Mariners used 3 of their 5 pitchers. Bryce Miller's available.
Wu.
Brian Woo's available. Sorry.
Brian Wu's available. Yeah, he got added to the ALC. He makes the ALCS roster. They put 13 pitchers on there. I think is a good choice for them. Um, so
But
this
yeah,
is one where I'm a little
they used
confused.
three they used 3 of their 5 starters in game 5. You're kind of running out of options, and you want your best guys to go in games like this, especially pitching on the road.
This is one where I would prefer them start Brian Wu in this game and hope that he can give you 5 or 6 and let the bullpen do their thing. And if not, then you can piggyback someone, um, whoever number 5 starter is, do that. But I understand what they're doing here. You want to get your guys in early so they can go a second game. But when they just pitched multiple innings, what, 3 days ago at this point, I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not a huge fan unless you absolutely have to go short days rest and mess up the pitcher from what their normal routine is. I think it usually causes more problems than it solves. Um, so I'm not a huge fan of this. I would much rather see Brian Wu start this game.
Yeah, so my thoughts on it is you took one in Toronto, game 1. If you have Miller go game 2, then you're giving Logan Gilbert 2 extra days rest because they're
And then he's
gonna
at
have an
normal
off,
rest.
they're gonna have an off day on Tuesday, and then you're playing at home with Gilbert, Castillo, Kirby, or what, however you want to line
Yeah.
it up for those 3 games. And I think you're in much better position. Where now, like with pitching rotation this deep, you don't really need to force one of these guys to go 3 games or go on
No,
short
I
rest.
don't. I don't like short game rest. There's no point in this team doing that. Brian Wu has been a serviceable pitcher for you. He's been good. He's got nasty stuff. He hasn't been as good this year as you would have liked him to take the steps, but he's a good pitcher that can eat some innings for you. And you already stole one in Toronto. So worst case scenario, you come back 1-1 and you already are okay with that. So why are we forcing it to potentially come back 1-1 where you use one of your best pitchers?
It appears as though game 2 will. They haven't officially announced anything yet. It appears as though game 2 will probably be Trey Savage, and game
Who's
3
been
will probably
filthy?
be Shane Bieber.
Who's been okay?
Which we're focused on game 2 right now. I think the Blue Jays have a better plan going forward, and that might be the difference.
I'm still taking Seattle.
I give
Pitching.
Dan Wilson a lot of credit for what he's done to this team, they've looked like a completely different team since they fired Scott Service last year. Who I think Scott Service is a really good manager too. But Dan Wilson's done a great job with this team. But we're talking about the guy like he's gone up against the guy that I think we both said, or at least I said, was going to be AL Manager of the Year. I
Yes.
think Brian Schneider is really good, and again, I think he has a better plan, and I think that might be the difference in this series.
Yeah, it worries me because I really do. Um, this series could come down to pitching matchups, and I think rushing to get one of your guys back in is not a great decision. So if they're smart, I think this is a Brian Wu. You get everyone their rest, and then you go back at worst because Brian Wu can win you a game here. This is not like he's not good. Trey Savage has been dominant, but he's still a young kid. Like any point, he could get blown up. Um, I'd rather come back 1-1 with a fully rested number like what 2, 3, 4 of my rotation 1, 3, 4, whatever you want to count them as. They're all elite, so who cares? Um, because Luis Castillo is your 4, and that's not a number 4. Um, so I would rather come back with a fully rested starting rotation. I just think it sets up better for them, and then you're not rushing it. And then if you need one of those guys again, um, you can go short days for game 6 or 7 or pitch them out of the bullpen later. But I don't like this setup. It worries me a little bit. But again, I'm taking pitching over the hitting in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, game 3, 4, 5, it's lining up basically as the Blue Jays are probably looking at a well rested Shane Bieber who has playoff experience, a well rested Max Scherzer who has playoff experience, and then probably back to Kevin Gossman for game 5, or back to Gossman for
That
game
should be
4,
enough rest.
like back to Gossman for game 4, and then Scherzer for game 5. However they want to do it,
I just don't
Blue
trust
Jays
that.
are just lined up
I
better.
just don't trust that starting pitching.
Maybe they
Bieber's
have.
been, it's like Bieber's been decent. Gosman's been outstanding. Trey Savage has been outstanding. I know Scherzer is a Hall of Famer, but he just hasn't been Scherzer this year, so I don't trust that
And their other options, Chris Bassett, who I imagine they'll have pitching out of the
out of
bullpen,
the bullpen. Yeah, it's
or
going to be a
doing
fun one. I think
short.
this is going to be a fun series to watch. So I think, to end this, I think we've got a fun series in Seattle um, and Toronto. Again, power versus power, hitting versus pitching. I think it's going to be a fun one to watch to see who comes out on top. And then you've got the juggernaut LA Dodgers, all the superstars against the no superstars, Milwaukee Brewers, who are just fundamentally sound.
Yeah, so let us know who you have going the World Series. Let us know what you think about our predictions. Or my, I've kind of had
Seattle,
conflicting
Milwaukee.
predictions, but I think I have the Dodgers Blue Jays. So we have two different things going. I will not be shocked if I'm wrong, but
You will be.
I've been wrong a lot this postseason. But let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about what we think, and just continue to, tell us anything and everything that you guys are thinking. We love the discourse. We love talking about sports, and that's why we do this. So thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere else you may find us. Probably nowhere else you find us, but if you find us somewhere else, follow us on there too. And we will see you guys next time.
See you.